Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of Sports Frenzy 2.0. I am the maestro, Kevin Crane.
I am the conquistador, Dave Height.
It is July the 13th, 2022. This will hit tomorrow morning on the 14th. As usual, we lead off with baseball during the summer. Heading into the All-Star break. 4 or 5 games left. Then they take a break, play that worthless, useless All-Star game that used to mean something, and before that used to actually have guys that played hard and cared about winning.
Yeah, they played for their league. The NL wanted to destroy the AL, and the AL wanted to show up the NL.
You mean pride?
God
oh
forbid.
My God, are we actually saying pride in a term that doesn't mean gay, lesbian, homosexual, trans, zebra lover?
Yeah, when people actually cared about what they do.
And you guys know, each and every week here on Sports Frenzy, we're the ones that are going to call out the jackasses who don't have pride and don't seem to care, or at least care about nothing but themselves. And we've got a lot of them coming up.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
First and foremost, of course, we got to look at our teams. Since both of them are below 500, not a lot of love in the all-star rosters. I am shocked. The Cubs got 2 players.
How the hell did that happen?
I don't know. This bizarre love affair everybody's got this year with Ian Happ, it just boggles my mind. The guy goes from being a pathetic 220, 230 hitter to hitting 280, and all of a sudden now he's an all-star.
Makes absolutely... He wasn't voted in.
No, he was named.
Okay, so who... All right, who else got in?
Well, Contreras got voted in.
Okay.
As catcher.
As catcher,
but
there you go.
You and I were talking about this off mic. There is still that rule where you have to take one player from every team. Now, with the Cubs, the pathetic, awful Cubs, Wilson Contreras gets voted in as catcher. Why the hell do you take Ian Happ?
That makes absolutely no sense.
Freddie Freeman didn't make it.
How does Freddie Freeman not... How did you not take Freddie Freeman over Ian Happ? It makes absolutely no damn sense.
No, none whatsoever. I agree completely. I don't think Ian Happ deserved to be an all-star. I thought if they were going to take another Cub, it was going to be Robertson out of the bullpen. But even then, I figured that was shaky.
Yeah. Absolutely crazy.
White Sox got one starter voted in.
Yeah, Tim Anderson got voted in as a starter at shortstop, and that's it. Yes, they're underperforming. But at the same time, how does Dylan Cease not get added for the year he's having? Yeah, he had a couple games scuffled, but still, in all the major categories, he is in the lead, and he gets hosed. Because, you have to take Paul Blackburn as the sole representative from the A's. And how the hell do you take Nestor Cortez from the Yankees ahead of Cease? The Yankees have enough representatives. Cease is pitching well above what Cortez has this year. It's insane. It's the East Coast bias.
Well, year in and year out, we've talked about this with baseball. Baseball, they like to say, it's a quote-unquote regional sport. No, like
bullshit.
Dave just said, it's a bias towards the coasts, New York and the West Coast with the Dodgers and the Giants. It's
Los Angeles and New York, let's face it, basically.
And again, this is why baseball wonders why they're hemorrhaging fans and the NFL keeps growing and growing, because people don't see the bias in the coverage, don't see the bias in this kind of stuff. The All-Star game, where all of a sudden you're getting half a dozen guys from the Yankees, 5 guys from the Mets, and everybody else is going, how about us? How about us?
Yeah.
And then, of course, the way baseball does the All-Star game, I understand it's tradition. I understand it's the way it's always been. But I always find it interesting that they will ignore the second half of last year.
Yeah.
When it comes to bringing in the All-Stars, it's always who played well in the first half of this year. The guys that played well in the second half of last year never get any kind of recognition.
No, they don't. And usually those guys tend to carry over and have decent starts to the following year. But, they're not the regulars who get off to a good start, so they get ignored.
Well, we just talked about Freddie Freeman. That's what he's suffering from.
Yeah.
The fact that the second half of last year, he obviously led his team to a World Series, and he's had an okay start to the first year with the Dodgers. So Ian Happ's better?
No. It's ridiculous.
No. And I'm a Cubs fan, kids. Remember that. Of course, we have to honor the future Hall of Famers. So, of course, there was room made for Albert Pujols in the National League and Miguel Cabrera in the American League. We still don't have any confirmation that this is Miggy's last year. So,
no, it's speculative at this point. But
right.
Let's face it, the guy can barely move.
And Pujols is also going to participate in the home run derby.
Oh, yay. That's exciting.
I think he's got 6 home runs this year.
Yeah, that makes a hell of a lot of sense.
On a part-time basis. Yeah. It's amazing how baseball loves to pat itself on the back again as they lose fans, lose viewers.
They just
sign stupid TV deals that everybody hates with Amazon and with Apple.
Yeah, they are completely clueless, and it's pathetic. America's game is destroyed. No more.
Well, at least there's some teams making things interesting when it comes to the playoffs, because a couple of weeks ago we thought this was all locked. The second half was going to be an absolute snooze fest. But thanks to, believe it or not, 2 of the most unlikely culprits in the American League, the Baltimore Orioles and the Seattle Mariners, now both on 9-game win streaks.
Good Lord, they put themselves into the wild card hunt.
Yep, Baltimore's 2 out of the last spot. Seattle is tied with Toronto for that last wild card spot in the expanded playoff picture now.
Yep, and Baltimore, thought to be the doorstep of the American League, are sitting at 500 here as we record this. Meaning, in that tough East, everybody's 500 or above, which is incredible.
Especially considering we're well past, about a week past the halfway point.
Yeah. And everybody thought, Baltimore, everybody's going to walk all over them. They're going to make so many moves, giving up players at the trade deadline. They could actually be buyers instead of sellers if they want to make a run for it.
Yeah, they could embarrass outside of the Yankees because the Yankees have such a huge lead in the AL East. But if they were to add a couple players, like you're saying, they could embarrass the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, and the Rays and jump past them into second place very easily. Very easily.
And take that top wild card spot.
Yep. Going back to the All-Star game for just a second, I do find this comical. Last week we talked about, in our dumbass segment, the peanut vendor who was told don't throw bags of nuts anymore. Well, now we've got an even bigger problem as the All-Star game next week is heading to Dodger Stadium in Chavez Ravine. The concessionaires, the vendors, are going to go on strike. I've seen headlines, good luck finding a hot dog at the All-Star game.
Are they in support of said peanut thrower?
I don't think that's why they're going on strike.
Or is this just a labor dispute?
This is just a labor dispute, but couldn't have picked a better time to do it.
You know what?
They're getting leverage here.
They have all the leverage in the world.
Yep. So we'll see if this gets resolved. Your former player, Chris Sale, had another one of his temper tantrums.
Oh, another meltdown.
Yeah, last week on the 6th. Of course, we didn't catch it until the next morning after the news cycle switched for us. But, yeah, he broke some stuff on the wall for the minor league affiliate Worcester.
Come on, dude. Seriously,
as he
it's
was
freaking minor leagues.
heading back to the locker room, he threw a little hissy fit. He admitted it the next day. He admitted it, said, yeah, it's just who I am. I apologize. He said, I'm going to replace everything. I'll buy new stuff. I think there was a TV involved, possibly. And then he finally made it back up to the majors here the other night and pitched fairly well.
Yeah.
But he's fragile. He is a China doll.
He is one of those guys who had all the potential in the world. And he's a head case, and he's injury prone. And sorry, I'm glad we got rid of him, that we didn't have to deal with him.
Yeah, and over the years, you kind of can tell through the pitcher's delivery which ones are just waiting for arm issues and shoulder issues.
Yeah.
And Sales, that whole whiplash form that he's got.
And he's only been good in the first half of seasons. He's always had mediocre to awful second halves.
Now, as a Cubs fan, I'll always say the antithesis of that was Mark Pryor.
Who supposedly had the perfect mechanics.
Yeah, the lower body was unbelievably strong. Shouldn't have been any reason for him to have arm issues.
There you go. You never know.
Randy Johnson looked like, with his
delivery, jerky whiplash,
he would probably be one that would blow his arm out and never did.
No.
Never did. So there, it just goes to show you that you never know. If
you're susceptible, you're susceptible.
Yep.
That's all it is. Speaking of that, Mike Trout had to leave the game with back spasms. They're hoping it's just a one-off and they won't have to put him on the IL.
And again, we mentioned this seems like every couple weeks during the baseball season. What the hell, year after year, is wrong with the Angels? You have got two of the best players of the last 10 to 15 years on your roster right now. Still, I would say, in the prime of their career, especially Ohtani.
Yeah. You got these top two guys, and you can't do a thing. Oh, wait. You got too much salary wrapped up in just a handful of players and can't fill out the rest of the roster.
Yeah, we talked about Rendon recently. That looks like that deal could end up being almost as bad as the Jason Hayward deal for the Cubs.
Yeah, big time.
Unfair competitive advantage. I want to bring this up. This just broke here within the last couple hours. I find this to be very, very unfair to the likes of the Baltimore Orioles, who we just talked about, the Mariners, the Red Sox, the Rays, the teams that are fighting for the American League wild card. Word just came down. Kansas City, the Royals are heading up to Canada to play the Toronto Blue Jays this weekend. They have 10 unvaccinated players.
That's ridiculous.
Including 4 of their best hitters, 2 of their best starting pitchers. How is that fair for these other teams that are fighting for wild card spots?
They're not putting out the best get to possible.
Play, basically, normally Kansas City is a good minor league team at best.
Yeah.
Now they're what? A Southern League team?
Maybe.
How is that fair competitively?
Absolutely pathetic.
And if we're still having issues with Canada with this kind of crap, we're not going to get into the vaccination debate. But if we're still having issues with Canada, we should have told the Blue Jays again this year, play in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Play somewhere else. Play somewhere in the U.S. I mean, it's working out for them. Everybody they play
gets hosed.
In varying forms. Could be one player, could be 10 players like this, but they're getting a weakened competitor.
They are. It's definitely an unfair advantage. But again, if the players are stupid enough not to have their teammates' best interests at heart, shame on them. That's selfish individual crap.
And one person who's pretty much upset about this because this would have really helped him out if he could have got to manage the Blue Jays while they play this decimated Kansas City Royals team this weekend, is poor Charlie Montoyo, the manager who just got fired by the Blue Jays because, yes, they are underperforming, but he was probably sitting there, just give me another week. Just give me another week.
One more week is all I needed. Yeah. All right, Reinsdorf. Montoya just got fired, the third manager. How about you get rid of sleepy Tony La Russa, the epitome of a useless manager for an underachieving team? He is doing nothing to inspire the players yet again this week. They still look listless, like they don't care. And I'm sorry, that comes down to the manager and what kind of clubhouse he's running.
Your White Sox 42-45 as we tape.
Yep, 5 back of the Twins.
5.5 now.
Well, yeah,
Twins
5.5
won today.
Twins just won.
Twins won today. Still in third place, and now, unfortunately for you, with this clusterfuck that's happening with the wild card,
we have to catch the Twins. It's division or bust.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to hope now that Seattle, Baltimore, Tampa, the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, a couple of them at least falter.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. This is a wasted frickin' season.
And, of course, the one team that should fire their manager that won't is the Chicago Cubs. In the middle of a 5-game losing streak, once again, David Ross showing his fantastic leadership skills. Another mid-season, long, lengthy losing streak. 34-53 now. Fourth place, only 1 game ahead of the Reds for last, 14 behind the first place Milwaukee Brewers. All right, time to move on to NASCAR. Recapping first, the Quaker State 400 this past Sunday from Atlanta. Chase Elliott, because of rain, got the pole with their metrics. I love that.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Their goofy ass formula.
Yep. Now, I got to tell you a story here. Tell the people a story. You know this. We were occupied on Sunday.
We were.
Check out the weekend edition for our review of the Doobie Brothers 50th anniversary concert in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So, of course, we didn't get to watch the race because nobody covers NASCAR outside of us. And yes, contractually, NBC and Fox.
Yeah, they have to.
Nobody covers NASCAR, so there were no spoilers. We were able to go to the concert, get home. I was able to watch the first stage late night Sunday into Monday morning. Second stage started off very early in the second stage. There was a big accident involving my man, who I'd picked, Ross Chastain, and Martin Truex, who was a pick for a couple of our other panelists, the elder statesman in Mississippi. So at that point, I said, I'm done. I'm out, Jerry. I'm out. Here we go again. I can't.
Once again.
So I turn the race off, and I go ahead the next morning watching sports Monday morning. And I see the ticker, and they say Chase Elliott won. Okay, so there you go, kids. Chase Elliott won the Quaker State 400. But then I see the scroll for the top 5, and I see Ross Chastain finish second. And I'm like, what? Holy hell happened? So I had to go back and watch the rest of the race to see how the hell. And Truex finished in the top 10.
How the hell do you get involved in a massive wreck like that and come back?
It's got to be these new cars. For all the flaws they have, again, wheel issues with Christopher Bell.
Yeah, and how does he not get penalized?
Because
what kind
they
of
changed
bullshit?
They changed the language a few weeks back.
If
you're not on the track, then if you lose a wheel on pit road, you're not susceptible to the same penalties.
That's bullshit. It's, again, NASCAR playing the damn game of changing things up whenever the hell they want to.
Yeah, because Bell only got a couple feet out of the pit
before
his wheel fell
There
off.
used to be penalties for any loose wheel. If a tire changer or whoever lost the wheel in the pit box and it got out of the pit box, they would get penalized. What the hell? It's ridiculous.
So we had that, and then, like I said, I watched the rest of the race to see how the hell Chastain and Truex bounced back. And somehow those cars, for as bad as that wreck looked, they put a ton of Barabon tape on Chastain and were somehow able to stabilize his car to the point where he was able to finish second.
Yeah, but how did they not lose any laps making the repairs?
They were able to do it because even though the damage was somewhat significant, none of it got torn off. So it was basically they just had to pull pieces back, put the
more
tape
cosmetic
on.
Stuff than
Right.
Ugh.
So Chastain ends up second. Of course, your guy, William Byron, got caught up in another accident later on. But Chastain made himself more enemies. He is now like Paul Tracy in SRX.
Public enemy number one.
Yeah, because he, of course, they say he wrecked Truex. I dispute it. I thought Truex was driving, pardon my French, but what do I care? We're explicit. He drove like a pussy. This is pack racing. This is basically almost like running Daytona or Talladega. And Truex is letting off the gas in like third place, and he's backing up into Chastain, and Chastain was not going to slam the brakes on.
Right, you don't do that. If Truex rolled out of the gas, he takes the risk of getting run over.
So I didn't have a problem with that one, even though, of course, they're blaming Chastain for it. Now, later on in the race, he had yet another incident with Denny Hamlin, and that was on him. He came up into Denny Hamlin and spun him out. So I'm glad I've used up all three of my Ross Chastain picks because I'm scared to death for the next couple months.
He's going to be taken out here or there.
Somebody's going to do some damage to him. And then Eric Almirola was another one that had issues with him. There was no wreck involved, but, close quarters, and he basically
not given any room.
They played his in-car audio, and he came flat out and said, "Oh God, Chastain's just an idiot." And they interviewed Chastain after the race, and he just was very calm, matter of fact, said,
I was doing what I needed to do, what my car was letting me do.
I'm sorry if everybody has a problem with it, but I'm not trying to wreck people. I'm just an aggressive racer. That's the way it is.
There you go. I appreciate his honesty and candor in that one.
So, of course, Chase Elliott, like I said, gets his third win of the 2022 Cup season. Our picks for race 20 coming up this Sunday, the 17th, the Ambetter 301 at Loudon in New Hampshire. Again, 6 of our 8 panelists have their picks in. We have 3 Brad Keselowskis, and this will tell you, I think, the people that are picking Brad Keselowski are not paying attention to anything other than past statistics.
Exactly, because let's face it, Keselowski isn't running for crap this year.
No, he's an owner now, new team.
They got nothing.
Now, he is good normally at Loudon, but
the car is not there.
No, but the Big Blue W, Bill, Nick, Doug, all taking Brad Keselowski. I'm going with Denny Hamlin. I got a feeling Hamlin here. I'm gonna give you a wink preview. I'm gonna go back to back. If he doesn't win this week, I'm taking him next week at Pocono.
You got to at Pocono.
I'm gonna burn my last 2 Hamlins this week and next week. Richmond, I thought about it, but screw it. I think Hamlin's running well enough where he's gonna win one of these next 2 races. I've got to get a goddamn win.
I need a freaking win, which is where I'm going with Loudon Logano.
Yep.
Joey typically runs very well there. We'll see what happens.
I do like Sam's pick, the last one of the 6 we've got in. He's going Brian Blaney, who is right now the odds-on favorite. Blaney's got to break through. He's had such a good year. He's like me. Great points year, no wins to show for it.
There you go. We'll see. Little silly season stuff. Some controversy coming out of Richard Childress Racing. Tyler Reddick got confirmed to race through 2023 with RCR.
Which we talked about last week.
Now he comes out and is signed with 2311 Racing and Toyota for 2024. And Childress is like, basically, it took everybody by surprise because everyone thought, all right, another year, it'll give Childress and Reddick time to come up with a long-term deal. And Reddick signed with 2311 and basically said, oh, it shouldn't be any surprise to Childress that I looked elsewhere.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, what's said, what isn't? Very interesting.
Now, I didn't see a ton of the details on this. I don't know if you did. This smells to me like a Kurt Busch retirement next year.
Yeah.
Kurt Busch's next run in 2023 will
be his final.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's got to be what it is. Reddick's got to be stepping in for Busch in 2024.
They're not adding a third team.
No, I saw a brief interview during the qualifying rain delay at Atlanta where they talked to Denny Hamlin, Dale Earnhardt Jr. did on his podcast. And Hamlin seemed really, really hesitant to say that they were going to look at a third team right now because Jr. was kind of asking him, when you're done with Gibbs, are you going to, with your current contract, are you going to jump onto your own team? And he was basically talking about costs and sounding very, very skittish about spending any more money.
Yeah, you got to be hesitant in this day and age. So
wait for the Kurt Busch retirement announcement coming soon.
Yep, at least before next year starts.
Right. All right, one other thing in NASCAR, then we got to talk real quick about the fourth race in the SRX series. It looks like it's getting closer and closer to being official, supposedly coming up here within the next week. There will be an announcement of a 3-year deal, 2023 through 2025, for the Chicago street course race that we've been talking about here for the last few months. So look for that. Maybe by the time we do next week's episode,
they'll have it finalized.
It might be concreted, hopefully, set in stone, chiseled in granite.
We will see. All right. SRX. Race 4 from Nashville Fairgrounds. It was a yawner. It was the worst SRX race that we've had. Boring beyond belief.
Yeah, the feature race was dominated by Bobby Labonte. I think he led all but one lap.
I think so. It was not a competitive race at all.
And that is the one trap that SRX falls into every once in a while, is because they are trying so hard to make these cars so equal that you will get a race like this every once in a while where there is not a lot of passing, there's not a lot of competition. You know, somebody moves up from 6th to 3rd, and that's like the most excitement you're getting.
Yeah, and the previous races at least held some excitement. You had a lot of passing, movement, people vying for positions. This was just a snooze fest. And I think it was partially the track and partially the weather issues that came in, that they had problems with the cars too, because they had a storm roll through that decimated the pit area. Rain got into the cars, screwed things up. There was a lot of last minute things that they had to do.
Yep. So the final 2 SRX races coming up the next 2 Saturdays will both be on dirt.
That's going to be fun. That should make it interesting.
And I have one final suggestion, how they could have made race number 4, Nashville, more exciting. Haley Deegan! You didn't give me any Haley, and she was in the goddamn race last week. Why didn't you give me some more Haley this week and do a feature on her? Son of a bitch, tired of this. Give the people what they want. Give the maestro what he wants.
More Haley. We'll give you more of what you want. More Sports Frenzy 2.0 coming up with another segment. This episode of Sports Frenzy 2.0 is brought to you by the Bills Mafia Marital Aid Company, because when you are down and out, we'll bring you back up and in the game. Sports Frenzy 2.0, on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, and Stitcher. All right, kids, as we promised you, we're giving you what you want. Segment 2 of Sports Frenzy 2.0. I'm the Conquistador, Dave Height.
Along with the maestro, Kevin Crane.
Recording here on July 13th. This will drop Thursday the 14th. And as always, you can find us on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, and Stitcher! Now also available Amazon Music and Audible. Anywhere you can find a great podcast such as this. Let's get into the NFL.
Yep, about another month, and then we're going to see baseball and the NFL switch places. This is a short-term NFL second segment. As always, when the NFL season starts, they will be bumped to the front. But there is a lot of news to talk about this week when it comes to professional football. Unfortunately for our Chicago Bears, not much of it is good.
No. God, I don't even know how to begin this crap.
Third player arrested this offseason for the Chicago Bears.
And again, it always happens after our Wednesday recording.
Wide receiver David Moore nailed on drug and weapons charges.
Fell asleep in a Taco Bell drive-thru line with not one, but 2 handguns and enough drugs to warrant not just possession charges, but distribution. Idiot.
Yep. This
pathetic.
This is going to be a miracle for Matt Eberflus to make this team a cohesive, solid unit the way things are going. Now, a little bit of good news is that we actually brought in another possible potential good young weapon for him. Finally, as Bill Belichick must have had his fill of young wide receiver N'Keal Harry.
He had, 3 or 4 guys to try and jump over. So we get Mr. Henry coming in, fresh start. All it cost us was a 2024 7th rounder. Minimal risk for the possible upside.
Especially considering we need to give Justin Fields weapons.
Yeah, as many as possible.
If N'Keal Harry is worth anything, he should be starting opposite Darnell Mooney. He should be.
Should be.
Yeah.
Definitely, especially with 2 of the arrests being wide receivers.
Yeah. It's either going to be N'Keal Harry or Equinemius St. Brown. It's got to be. Those guys have got to be
Those
fighting.
Should be your 3 receivers lining up consistently.
Yep.
So, and with all of that, the Bears still have just over $23 million in the cap to spend. There still have got to be moves to be made.
They have not hit the floor yet.
No. They have got to spend over $23 million to hit the floor. Oh, it's frustrating.
Yep. And of course, my other team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, about a decade ago, I remember when they were pathetic, when they were awful, they had the same situation. And it's just very similar, eerily similar 10, 12 years ago, what the Buccaneers were going through looks like what the Bears are going through right now. Same problem. They were so far under the floor that they had to start giving guys extensions just to try to bump that number up.
Ugh.
But this makes you wonder, did they not plan on this? Did they not think about this? You couldn't keep Akeem Hicks? You know?
I know. They
give Roquan his extension now.
Get him the help money.
One of the few decent players we got left. Give Roquan his extension if that's going to help now. Front load the damn thing. Yep. Put all the money in this year.
Get it this year. Give him the deal. You got him long term, and it's cap friendly going forward. this would be the time to do it.
Yes, and now we will see. I like the N'Keal Harry move. We will see if our new GM
has any brains.
Right. Finally, with the Bears, at least, Chicago's getting desperate with all the talk about the Arlington purchase, moving the Bears out to the suburbs. Now rumors are starting up that the city of Chicago is willing to work with the Bears for, again, renovations on Soldier Field.
No, let it go.
But, David, that would include a dome.
They already effed up one renovation on Soldier Field, making it look like crap, like a damn spaceship. How the hell do you think you can pull off putting a dome out there? You're going to displace the Bears for a couple of years to get this next renovation done. No. Just let them play it out until the new place at Arlington is done. Do it right. Don't try and frickin' retrofit again.
And I told you the logic that I heard initially on this was they want the dome because that will allow them to have more events there than just the Bears. But here's my question.
Bull crap.
But here's my question. When do the Bears play?
They play in the worst weather. What do they do with the stadium during the summer, during prime concert months?
That's what I'm saying.
They don't use it.
They get maybe one a year. One concert a year, maybe the Rolling Stones, maybe a Metallica. But you don't need the dome for that.
No.
The Bears will be in the stadium during most of the time when you would use a dome for other events.
Yeah, so it makes absolutely no sense at all.
All right, we have to talk about the future ex-Mrs. Crane here. As the Las Vegas Raiders hired as their new president, the first Black woman team president in NFL history. And again, my future bride, Sandra Douglas Morgan. Yes, I know she's married with kids. Let the maestro do his work. Let him work his magic.
Let him dream.
She is so pretty, Dave. She's so pretty. She's so pretty. God, she's gorgeous.
Obviously, she's brilliant, too, to be able to get put into this position.
She has got to be one of the most beautiful women I've seen in ages, man. Oh, good for the Raiders. But that picture, I told you, the picture at the press conference.
Somebody is smitten.
With her and Mr. Lemon Tree haircut sitting. I mean, it's like Beauty and the Beast, man.
Dude, don't say that when I got a mouthful of beer. It almost went into the microphone.
I'm surprised they didn't have the press conference at his favorite P.F. Chang's where he holds all his meetings.
God.
Talk about eccentric. We thought his dad, Al Davis, was eccentric. The lemon don't fall far from the tree.
No, it does not.
With the bowl haircut. Oh, my God. Speaking of prominent Black women, another one making headlines, and this is a woman I would vote for president tomorrow. I've always said that about her. I think she's brilliant. Maybe I'm biased because we share the same alma mater, but Condoleezza Rice has now joined the new Broncos ownership group.
Good for her.
So we are making progress, whether the media wants you to believe it or not.
Yep, Condoleezza Rice is one of the most brilliant people. Yes, men, women, it doesn't matter. Condoleezza Rice is one of the most brilliant people out there.
Absolutely. Now, of course, normally we do our big pivot at the end of the show, but we're going to do one here because we go from two brilliant women to the idiot known as Dan Snyder.
God, this guy is such a fuckstick.
Will this fucked up drama never end with him?
And why does the House committee continue to pander to this asshat? Granted, they are making him testify under subpoena.
No. That's the news that broke today. That's not happening yet. Here's the catch. Dave, this just broke a couple hours ago, kids. Dave's working on the original information from earlier this
that
week.
they wanted to subpoena him, so he had to actually answer questions.
Yes. Initial reports were that they had all agreed, the committee and Daniel Snyder, that he was going to do over video because he's going to be in Israel on July the 28th.
Drag his sorry ass back here.
So the date's July the 28th when this is all supposed to happen. He's going to testify through video.
Bullshit.
Because he's going to be in Israel. Now word comes out today. He will not testify under subpoena because of exactly what you said. Because when you're testifying under subpoena, you have to answer questions. You can't pull the, I plead the fifth bullshit. I'm not going to say something that's going to incriminate myself, or I don't recall. Because they had to serve him a subpoena by noon today. And his lawyer could have accepted it for him since, again, Snyder is again somehow, somewhere, nowhere to be found.
How is this allowed to happen?
I know. We got everybody bitching and pissing, moaning about Brittany Griner. Let's send the hounds after fucking Dan Snyder and make him
hold this asshole accountable for all the crap that he has pulled and continues to pull.
Pay attention to the laws and the ethics and the morals of the goddamn country he makes so much money from. I can't see how anybody's giving this guy a pass now. He is making this ridiculously unbelievable. It's a circus now. I wish they would bring the full weight of the law on him.
All the NFL owners need to make a decision and hold this douchebag accountable. There is no way they should be standing for this crap.
Absolutely 100% agree. We'll see again what happens.
Oh, that just pisses me off.
Will he testify on the 28th now without a subpoena involved? If he does, we're not going to get anything from him.
No. Wait until his ass lands and have the marshals hit him with a subpoena and drag his ass in.
Amen, brother. Amen. That's exactly what they should do.
Screw this crap. The guy has gotten away with so much for so long. Fuck the rich. Hold their asses accountable. Sorry for the language, but it's deserved with this douchebag.
It's okay. We're explicit.
But we want to be intelligent at the same time.
I know. Your parents, my parents always told me using profanity is a sign of a lack of intelligence. And I told my dad, fuck you. No, I didn't. I didn't say that. But
sometimes
because my dad would have kicked my ass, of course, because back then we weren't snowflakes. Our parents gave us the belt if we did something egregiously wrong and stupid.
I've had my mouth washed out with soap more than once.
All right, little aside here, leading into a story that I know Dave wants to talk about. I will start it and Dave can finish it. Again, for the second time in this episode, I'm going to reference the fact that last Sunday we were at the Doobie Brothers in Grand Rapids, Michigan, Van Andel Arena.
Stay tuned to the weekend edition. Check it out
for our full review.
Saturday morning.
But we noticed when we went in, at least I hadn't been there in a while. You guys had been there more recently, about 5-6 months ago.
Yeah.
But all over the arena, signs for a company called Acrisure. And we're like, who the hell is Acrisure? What the hell do they do? I've never heard of them before. Well, now they've got an even bigger footprint.
Guess what, kids? The Pittsburgh Steelers will no longer be playing at Heinz Field. They will be playing in Acrisure Stadium. 15-year naming rights for this finance company. Suddenly, the last couple years, they're now worth over $3.8 billion. Whatever. I'm sure there's buyouts and whatever mystical money laundering crap that these people do took place. Mergers and acquisitions.
I saw a pretty funny article after this was announced where somebody said, Yeah, this has got to go down as one of the worst current stadium names. Oh, but I forgot about Guaranteed Rate Field.
I was just going to say the only one worse was Guaranteed Rate Field. Bullshit.
The home of the Conquistador Chicago
It's
White Sox.
Comiskey Park, damn it. It will always be Comiskey.
All right, let's try to end the football portion of this segment on a fun note, shall we?
We can try.
The New York Jets' young quarterback, Zach Wilson. Wow, did he have a fun week here with social media blowing up about his escapades. His ex-girlfriend, it turns out, started the whole thing, the ball rolling downhill, when we find out that she's now dating Zach Wilson's former bud, who is a practice squad receiver, I believe, for the Washington Commanders. Which got her the moniker, which I'd never heard before. She is now called a homie hopper because she jumped from Zach Wilson to his best friend.
See, now, I thought she was going to be called a pitch and catcher.
It gets better. That's only the tip of the iceberg. It gets better. So then it comes out.
Homie hopper. I like that.
It comes out then that somebody let the cat out of the bag, let it be known, let it slip that, well, I don't think Zach is really too broken up, because word is that he's sleeping with his mother's best friend.
Oh, Mrs. Robinson!
So now everybody's trying to figure out in these group pictures, because I guess Zach's mom is really prominent on social media, and she's good looking, we all know too, from the draft, last year's draft. But they're looking at group pictures, trying to figure out which one is the one.
Who's got her hand on Zach's crotch?
This story is the one. Now, here's another great part of this before I give you the coup de grace. Just came out today, I heard. Zach's been away, I guess, on some kind of retreat or something with some of his teammates.
His gilf.
He's with his boys, with the teammates, the Jets guys. They're bonding, they're working on stuff. And he comes up with this, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, but bear with me. He kind of comes up with this social media post where he says, yeah, I was with the boys, didn't have a lot of cell service over the last 4 or 5 days. What's going on? Heard any good news lately?
Good for him.
Oh, and all these NFL players are like putting stuff up on social media about guys like DK Metcalf in Seattle. They're saying he wants to go play with Zach Wilson now. And keep in mind, this is a Mormon family we're talking about too.
God.
But the best of all this.
That's as good as Paul Rubin, a.k.a. Pee Wee Herman, after his stint in an adult theater. Heard any good jokes lately?
Yeah. Somebody has printed up T-shirts about this whole thing, because, of course, in this day and age, nobody's going to let a good idea go to waste, especially with the technology we've got now. So there are already shirts out there featuring Zach Wilson. Now, remember, they used to have this decade or so ago for Rex Grossman. Somebody came up with a T-shirt, said, fuck it, I'm throwing it downfield.
Right.
Now they've come up with one similar with Zach Wilson. Throwing bombs, banging moms.
Wow.
Gotta end that portion of this segment on a high note.
Oh my God, that's great.
Now every guy in America is rooting for Zach Wilson. Unbelievable.
Oh, that's hysterical.
Couple quick NBA notes, and then I'm going to let Dave talk about the NHL, the draft, and free agency. My Orlando Magic being unbelievably, extremely cautious with the number 1 overall pick, Paolo Banchero from Duke. Very impressive in his 2 summer league games he played. Yes, he played in 2 summer league games, and they said immediately, that's good enough. You're done. We're shutting you down. Of course, what they're saying is, we've seen enough of you. You're good. We were smart when we made the pick. You look like you're going to be the number one guy. We're going to take a look at some of these other kids to see if we've got anything in them. We don't need to see any more from you. So
there you go.
And of course, stupid money gets even stupider as the Portland Trailblazers extend Damian Lillard, tack a couple years onto his deal. 2 years, $122 million. Yes, kids, simple math, $61 million a year.
Absolutely ridiculous.
As Dave always says, when the hell does the TV contract with ESPN end? So they reach financial ruin and have to basically go through what the NHL went through, a complete and total reset. That's what I'm hoping for.
Stupid. NHL, you know what? I really didn't pay that much attention to the draft. I couldn't even tell you who the Blackhawks drafted because I was so pissed off with the way that organization has been run over the last 3 years. All I know is they traded away 2 of their top young guys, Alex DeBrincat and Kirby Dach, for picks. Full rebuild mode. Now rumblings are with DeBrincat gone, Patrick Kane, is rumored to be ready to demand a trade and lay out where he wants to go. Rumblings are the Rangers. And you know what? They're a contender, and I don't blame them for wanting to get out of Chicago at this point with the crap they've been pulling, getting rid of people, solid young skaters. I mean, you had Panarin that they traded away. Now DeBrincat and Kane were a phenomenal duo over the last couple seasons. And now DeBrincat's gone. So, yeah, fine. Let Kane go, frees up some cap space. But the big thing is you could get a king's ransom for him on draft picks and players coming back in. Now, Tays, coming off of his illness, whatever he was going through, I'm sure he's going to be gone here before much longer. I think both of them have another year, one more year to go on their contracts. Get ready, Chicago. Life without the dynamic duo is coming to an end. And speaking of dynamic players, Duncan Keith has hung up the skates after 17 years. You know, played the last season with the Oilers, but with the Hawks, 3 cup titles, 2 Norris trophies, and the Conn Smythe Trophy during one of the Stanley Cup runs as the best player overall. He's won gold medals with Team Canada. This guy is a Hall of Fame defenseman. No doubt about it. Sorry to see him hang it up, but it's probably a year or two beyond what he should have played. He's definitely lost a step. But he will be missed. But Dunk was one of the great players in NHL history. Gonna miss him.
Yeah, so, boy, things are not looking real good on the Chicago sports front.
No, it sucks.
Cubs rebuild mode. Bears rebuild mode. Blackhawks heading for rebuild mode. White Sox a year or two away.
Oh, my God.
Year or two away from blowing things up and going into rebuild mode if they don't straighten out what's going on there.
Chicago sports sucks right now.
Yeah, God, and the evil empire, New York.
Printing money and paying everything, overpaying.
2 of the 3 or 4 best baseball teams. You just mentioned the Rangers, who made it to the Eastern Finals.
Yep, the only thing is New York football blows. So does their NBA teams.
Well, so does Zach Wilson's mom's best friend.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, that's what he says.
So.
Oh, God. That kid, man. Good for him. He makes me want to root for the Jets.
God, help
He's
us.
living the dream. Living the dream! All right.
There you go.
Final segment, of course. Moments of silence. Red Foreman.
Miscellaneous.
Yeah, we're going to look a little bit at golf again. Tennis, of course. Got to look at Wimbledon. And then look forward to the U.S. Open, where once again we might have to do without arguably the best tennis player in the world.
Yep.
So hang out with just a little bit more with this, kids, won't you? I mean, seriously.
What else do you have going on?
That's better than this. What else do you have going on that's better than this?
Especially now, TV reruns during the summer.
Stranger Things is over. Hang out with us.
There you go.
Hang out with us on the Upside Down here. We'll be right back.
Hello, friends. Are you tired of the boring sports analysis you get from the major outlets? If so, join the Maestro and the Conquistador for a riveting discussion of all sports topics on Sports Frenzy 2.0, available on Spotify, Google, Apple, and wherever podcasts are available.
Hey, everybody. Time to wrap this bad boy up. July the 13th, 2022, Sports Frenzy 2.0. I am the Maestro, Kevin Crane.
I'm the Conquistador, Dave Height.
And as always, make sure you check out the weekend edition. Once again,
Concert review, baby.
Doobie Brothers in Grand Rapids. Our recap of Season 3 of The Boys.
Whatever
book
the
reviews,
hell else.
Movie reviews, dumbasses. You know the drill. So, of course, here, third and final segment, we usually touch on all the miscellaneous little tidbits around the sports world. The golf, the tennis. British Open starting up tomorrow. Yes, I'm calling it the British Open. I'm so tired of this pretentious bullshit now where we're supposed to call it the Open. It's the British Open.
How many damn Opens are there?
The British Open starts tomorrow, right around the time this episode will hit. And of course, everybody's jumping on Tiger. Bettors, sponsors, the networks. I hope he does not make the cut because I don't want to deal with 4 days of this bullshit.
We're tired of Tiger.
And of course, the Live Tour, those golfers are allowed to play, even though the British Open was really nasty to Greg Norman in how they denied him the right to come to the Champions Dinner.
Yeah, that's a bunch of crap.
Petty shit.
Bullshit.
So we'll see how the Live golfers perform. We'll see how Tiger performs. But of course, Tiger and Rory McIlroy can't keep their mouths shut about the Live Tour.
I'm sorry. Tiger is the last person in golf who should be saying that the Live golfers turn their back on the PGA Tour. Because Tiger is the one PGA golfer who consistently played over in the Middle East and Saudi and United Arab Emirates, everywhere over there. He took how much money over his entire career playing in their small little tournaments for the fees that these guys are now getting.
Absolutely 100% agree. I remember
he is a freaking hypocrite.
I remember each and every year thinking, why doesn't Tiger play more back in his prime? Why doesn't Tiger play more PGA Tour events? But I would always see him playing in Dubai every year. Dubai.
Yeah.
He's just as bad.
He chased the money just like these guys are doing.
And this makes him a hypocrite for saying these things. This makes him a hypocrite. At least those guys, they're taking the money.
They're admitting it. There you go.
Yep. And Rory, that little bitch. Rory, you're never going to even sniff Tiger's jock when it comes to getting close to how many majors he's won.
Rory, you wet yourself when things are on the line.
Interesting to see that the Department of Justice has now started an antitrust investigation into the PGA Tour and their behavior towards the live golfers.
Interesting. So not only are they looking at Major League Baseball's antitrust, now they're looking at the PGA.
They're looking at this and saying, do they have the right to tell these other golfers, Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau,
Phil Mickelson.
Does the PGA Tour have the right to exclude them just because they're playing on the Live Tour? Be very interesting to see. Will our government for once get this right?
We'll see.
All right. I know you and I discussed the fact that I don't watch that putrid, disgusting hot dog eating contest on the 4th of July.
God. Yeah.
But we
the
discussed
Nathan's hot dog.
You pointed out to me the incident with the headlock with Joey Chestnut.
And the stupid ass protester wearing the Darth Vader mask.
The Smithfield protester, right?
Yeah.
Well, at least FanDuel did the right thing. You and I, neither one of us bet. We don't like the fact that everybody is pushing sports betting.
Hate the sports betting crap. These commercials are worse than the old Viagra and Cialis commercials.
I don't know if anything could be worse than the stupid bathtub commercials.
Yeah, how are you going to get it up when you're in a separate tub from the woman you love?
Well, it's like Lucy and Ricky had separate beds. And somehow we got little Ricky. The sperm didn't just jump over from one bed to the other, Dave. Anyway, going back to hot dogs.
Speaking of hot dogs.
Good for FanDuel. After that incident with the protester, they gave refunds to all bettors who lost on the over-under on the hot dog eating contest. The number was set at 74.5. But they admit that because of the protester, that might have influenced the outcome, and Joey Chestnut's ability to eat 75 hot dogs.
I know. And Joey should not have apologized to this moron. The guy comes in, bumps Chestnut out of the way. What the hell do you think is going to happen? You get bumped. You're thinking you're being assaulted. Of course you're going to react that way, as he should have. This is Chestnut's livelihood. He doesn't know if he's being attacked. Get the guy the hell out of the way.
Yeah, where was security? How'd the guy make it up to the stage in the first place?
Yeah, they were a step or two behind. Because when Chestnut threw him aside, there was a security guard right there finally to escort him away. Ugh, it's frustrating that he felt he had to apologize because he felt maybe he overreacted. No, you reacted in just the right way. The guy had no damn business getting up there and doing that.
You and I have made this point in the past. Not only for some athletes like Joey Chestnut, but for ourselves. We're done apologizing. We say what we mean. We're not backing down. If you don't like it, kiss our ass.
Bingo.
Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one, including us. We're allowed to say what we want, just like all the snowflakes out there and the protesters at the Nathan's hot dog eating contest are. But be very careful about the repercussions, like Dave said, especially when you are physically getting into it with a man who's devouring wieners. That didn't come out right.
That didn't come out right. No, I mean, seriously, if it would have been closer, this person could have cost him $10,000.
Yeah. And you what are you going to do, sue him?
Yes. For somebody who has nothing.
Hopefully, yeah, he's a little snowflake with a trust fund.
Yeah, little 21-year-old bitch who doesn't know anything, who doesn't have a life, who lives in mommy and daddy's basement.
Well, unfortunately, in more ways than one, the Brittany Griner saga continues. She pleads guilty over in Russia because of her hashish vape cartridge.
Yep.
Could get up to 10 years in jail. You wonder why? Did she get this trial wrapped up so quickly and plead out so quickly?
That way they could do the prisoner exchange.
And once again, they're talking about the Merchant of Death, who we have discussed on this show before. And vehemently, we say, no, 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 no. You do not put the most notorious arms dealer back on the streets in Russia.
For 2 Americans.
Yeah, we're talking also about Paul Whelan, the guy who's been stuck over there.
Why the hell isn't Paul Whelan getting more press? Oh, because he's not a famous gay person.
Yeah, his mom, good for her, went out on social media after all the media outlets were fawning all over. Well, Brittany sent a letter to the president. Has the president read Brittany Griner's letter yet?
Yeah, what about Whelan's mom sending letter after letter after letter to the government? When does she get her say?
Then, of course, we'll have a special dumbass involving this later on.
Oh, the Sports Frenzy plane of doom is now the Sports Frenzy plane to get the fuck out of my country! But we're not bitter, men.
No. All right, a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I made the point, and of course, I'm sure a lot of feminists out there, a lot of hashtag Me Too people hated my guts for it, but guess what? I'm doubling down. We want to talk about, now in a backhanded way, I'm sticking up for female athletes in that I'm saying this will show once again why transgender men should not be allowed to compete in women's sports, because there is a vast difference between men and women when it comes to these sports. Here is my latest example. Going back to the WNBA, Sue Bird was who I mentioned a few weeks back.
Right.
Going into the Hall of Fame, talking about how fantastic she was, one of the greatest WNBA players of all time, and her numbers were less than stellar.
Right.
If an NBA player had those numbers, might be 6th or 7th.
They would be a bench
at
player.
Best on the bench. Well, here's my latest example. The number 1 player in the WNBA right now is Sabrina Ionescu of the New York Liberty. By far and away, best player in the WNBA right now. She became number 1, the first ever WNBA player to score a triple-double, scoring 30 points.
Oof.
There had never in the WNBA been a triple-double where the player had scored 30 points until now.
Ouch.
But it gets worse. It gets worse. That triple-double tied Sabrina with Candace Parker for the all-time WNBA record for most triple doubles in a career. 3. The record for most career triple doubles.
3 career triple doubles.
Russell Westbrook in his prime 4 or 5 years ago could have done 3 triple doubles in a week.
Oh my God, that.
And again, you can take this how you want. All you snowflakes and you haters and your hashtag Me Too people out there, I'm just trying to point out this shows you the vast difference between
the athleticism,
the men's sport and the women's sport. And how, again, maybe we shouldn't be letting these trans men into the women's sports because there is a vast, significant difference in skill levels. I'm sorry, but there is. You pick the sport.
In the stats.
You pick the sport. There is statistics, records to show it's not comparable. I'm sorry, it's just not comparable. And this is another example of that. Now, moving on to Wimbledon, Congrats to Elena Rybakina. First Grand Slam for her.
Good for her.
Good young female tennis player. Now, on the other side with the men, there was a whole bunch of high drama.
Oof. Yes,
and we
yes,
almost
was.
had Satan himself winning Wimbledon this year.
God.
The way things fell. Last week we mentioned the possibility that Rafael Nadal would not be able to play in the semifinals, and it turned out we were right.
Yep. That torn muscle in his abdomen kept him out, giving Nick Kyrgios, whatever the hell Kyrgios, a free pass into the finals. And
he won the first set against Novak Djokovic.
Yep. But Djokovic, being arguably the best player right now, was able to adjust and stormed back.
Yep, Djokovic won the next 3 sets, winning his 21st Grand Slam title. He is now 1 behind Rafael Nadal for the all-time record.
Yeah. Now, that being said, Nick once again showed what an asshat he actually is. What a piece of refuse. A sore loser going after a fan who was, quote-unquote, heckling him, saying, why is this drunk person still here? She's had more drinks than anybody should be allowed. Going off on his own team, his coaches, support crew, yelling at them when he wasn't able to do anything. The guy is useless.
He's a menace. We mentioned he's facing...
He has got anger issues.
Issues back in Australia for assault.
The guy, he's not a good guy.
Nope.
Blames everybody, takes no personal responsibility.
He's a brat, and we've seen this before in tennis. And the greats, we saw this with John McEnroe.
Jimmy Connors.
Yes, they were brats. They were entitled brats. Now, those guys were at least good. Very, very good tennis players.
Yeah.
Kyrgios got lucky here to get into the finals. And thankfully, the better player won.
Yes.
Now,
for once, sports justice actually came through.
Well, yeah, but now, of course, we've got to deal with the fact that Djokovic now doesn't look like he's going to be able to play in the final major of the year, the U.S. Open, again because of the whole vaccination situation. He missed the Australian Open. Now he's going to miss the U.S. Open, it looks like, unless he gets an exemption, because we still have restrictions on people coming in from foreign countries when it comes to the vaccinations for COVID. And here's the thing. Like I mentioned, Nadal is one major ahead of him for all-time status, for the greatest of all time. Like I said, he missed the Australian. Now, if he misses the U.S. Open...
Didn't he miss the French Open, too?
I think he played the French. No. I thought he played... Maybe it was the French he missed, and he played the Australian. One of the two, I thought it was the Australian.
I thought he missed both.
Well, whatever it is, he's missing a ton of opportunities here. There's only 4 majors a year.
Right.
And he's missing a lot of opportunities, and he's not on the front end of his career. He's on the back end. So there's not going to be a lot left for him in terms of opportunities to catch Nadal. And it would be a shame if he ends up falling one short, knowing
because of
that
this
he missed
COVID
multiple major opportunities because of this COVID stuff. All right, we got a couple moments of silence. Hugh Evans, Hall of Fame NBA referee, passed away this past week. So thoughts and prayers.
Yep. Referees usually get a bad rap, but you don't become a Hall of Fame referee for being a schmuck.
Right. Yep.
The guy was good.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the day when Angel Hernandez passes so we can...
dance on his grave and piss all over it.
Oh, he'll be going to the Hall of Fame, Dave.
Bull crap.
Because he'll say, if they don't put him in the Hall of Fame, it's racial discrimination.
Whatever.
Then, of course, the other moment of silence we've got is former Michigan head coach, football coach.
Yep.
Gary Moeller. And so now we move on. Just a couple dumbasses this week, but very significant dumbasses. So we're not going to play dumbass or not.
No, that's clear cut.
Yep. And of course, going back to the Brittany Griner saga and Dave talking about the Sports Frenzy plane of doom, basically not even crashing, just flying straight to Russia or China.
Or wherever to get said dumbass the hell out of this country if he's that upset and doesn't like it.
That would be one LeBron James, who once again put his Nikes in his mouth. He seems to do this very, very often for supposedly such a smart, charismatic businessman.
He's a dumbass.
On a podcast, again, it's either a post on social media or a podcast interview where these athletes trip up, fall flat on their face. The topic, of course, of Brittany Griner came up. And, of course, LeBron James sitting there pining about, it doesn't seem like America has Brittany Griner's back. And if I were her, why would I want to go back to America?
Well, let's see. Didn't she commit a crime? Not only what would be a crime in this country, but in another country where she's subjected to said country's laws?
I think that's the big, big issue here, is a lot of people are being so stupid and not realizing it's not America. She broke Russia's laws.
In Russia.
Do some research, and she'd been over there many times before to play basketball for them. We could also bring up the fact that, hey, why are the live golfers getting such shit when Britney's going over to Russia taking money to play basketball over there?
Very valid point. Where's the outrage there?
Where's the outrage for LeBron James and all the money he gets from the repressive regime known as China? Selective persecution, selective spotlight, always put on by our stupid ass media. They'll kiss LeBron James' ass, even though he is an idiot beyond all belief.
Absolutely clueless and self-centered.
Scream and cry for Brittany Griner to be let loose, for her to come back, even if we have to give up the most notorious arms dealer in the world, which makes no fucking sense whatsoever.
Zero.
LeBron James, easily, once again, a dumbass.
If you don't like it, get the hell out.
Yep.
I'm so sick of everybody who says, I don't like this country anymore. It's not what it used to be. Well, if you don't like it, leave. Please. We don't want you anymore.
Yeah, and I don't want to hear this Michael Moore crap where he says, oh, no, I'm going to stay and I'm going to change everything.
Until I get what I want. No, screw you. What you want is not what everybody wants, you self-centered, entitled little prick. So sick of this celebrity crap.
And I'm telling you, you people have to look at it this way. This is the best analogy I can give you, especially if you own your own home. If you own your own home, you're sitting there, you've got it decorated the way you want it. You've got everything, the furniture you like. Imagine somebody comes knocking at your door. You open it up, they barge in, and they go, I decide I don't like that picture. I don't like that painting. I don't like that sofa. I don't like that couch. I'm getting rid of all of them and putting stuff in here I like. And you're like, wait a minute. This is my house. And imagine if that person actually had police or somebody backing him or her up to say, no, they can do what they want. That's the media, basically.
Yep. Very well put.
Would you let somebody come into your house and redo everything the way they want it to be done? Or would you tell them, get the fuck out of my house? Think about it that way, kids. Think about it that way. All right, Lamar Jackson, still speaking about stupid things people are talking about in podcast interviews or on social media. Lamar Jackson, of course, we all know the Ravens are trying to play the waiting game here, deciding as he goes into the last year of his rookie contract if they want to pay him oodles and oodles of money.
So far, they shouldn't pay him oodles and oodles and oodles of money.
He does have an MVP, but he has not had a really good record when it comes to the playoffs, and of course, does not have a ring, hasn't gotten to a Super Bowl. He posted a picture of a grill. Of course, when I was a kid, a grill was something my dad would cook steaks on every Saturday night.
Or it was the front of your car.
But now, of course, that means diamond teeth, gold teeth, picture of somebody with a grill that spelled out, I need $. I need money. And he put this on his, I believe, his profile picture on Instagram or Facebook or whatever he was using.
Yeah, well, guess what, Lamar? Frickin' earn it on the field.
Marquise Brown, the only receiver you had that was any good outside of your tight end. He, in the offseason, said, I want out. This is not good for my career to be in the system with this quarterback. And he got shipped out. He thought Kyler Murray was better.
Oof.
What does that say? What does that tell you? He thinks Kyler Murray's a better opportunity for him in terms of a guy who can get him the ball than Lamar Jackson. Former MVP Lamar Jackson. And then he wants his money.
Yeah. Earn it. Earn it on the field.
And then finally, as always, I want to leave us with a little bit of humor, a little bit lighthearted stuff. But of course, like LeBron James, kind of hard week in and week out, the Cleveland Browns always seem to do something that warrants them being dumbasses.
How about Cleveland in general?
Well, of course, that was for a long time.
The mistake by the lake.
That was LeBron James' preferred locale. But this is more about a concept, an idea, mind you. So keep this in mind as I tell you why the Cleveland Browns, after the trade last week with Baker Mayfield going to the Panthers, why this makes the Cleveland Browns my third and final dumbass of the week. Based on the trade, based on the parameters, the money moving back and forth, the schedule, the Cleveland Browns are officially paying Baker Mayfield $588,000 in week one to beat them. Because week one, the Browns play the Panthers.
Nice.
Think about that. The big chunk of that salary that the Browns took on, do the math, kids. They will be paying the opposing quarterback, most likely. They say Darnold and Mayfield, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, there's no
Mayfield,
competition.
if Mayfield doesn't win that job, then he's done. He's done.
There's something wrong.
The Browns will be paying Baker Mayfield $588,000 to beat them.
There you go.
Oh my God. We got the Browns, we got Dan Snyder and the Washington Commanders. I mean, there are so many screwed up franchises in the NFL. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's
the Bears,
pathetic.
Of course.
Yeah, Miami ain't a bed of roses either.
Yeah, I think out of all of them, Miami's got the best shot at somehow making this work.
Yeah, well, don't forget Seattle.
Yeah, right now
the ineptitude out there.
Right now they're a train wreck. What is not a train wreck is Sports Frenzy 2.0. In fact, we are like a long train running.
Speaking of, check out the weekend edition for our review of the Doobie Brothers concert we attended, as we've mentioned in every segment so far.
Yes, those of you out there who love rock and roll, check out the weekend edition. Every week we will give you reviews of concerts, new albums, new songs, on top of course, our usual movie reviews, book reviews, TV and streaming reviews. Drop us a line. We've got a Facebook page. Comment. Check it out. We post our NASCAR picks there every week when football season starts. All of our football picks will be exclusively on the Facebook page. We'll tell you some of the highlights, but we will not have time to go through each and every one. The
Nope.
Facebook page is where you can get each and every pick every week during the football season. And once again, yes, thank you, Amazon Music and Audible, for taking on Sports Frenzy 2.0 as our latest platform partner.
All right. That wraps up. I'm the Conquistador.
I am the Maestro.
We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.